Yo, what's up everyone? Welcome back. Jamie here today with Dylan, and we're going to be reviewing Evil Dead 2, which came out in 1987, 6 years after the original. And it's sort of a remake, sort of a sequel, depends on how you want to look at it really, but I'm just going to say straight up right now, I mean, I've got a shirt. It's my favourite of the franchise. I love Evil Dead 2.
Objectively, I like number 3 more, but in terms of like what's actually... in ranking, I would always put this up. You know what I mean? Because it is just a better movie.
It's one of those rare examples where people are always like, the original is always the best. It's like, nah, it's not. It's not
it's
the
a
case
part
all the time.
remake, though. That's the issue.
Yeah, but like we'll get into it. It's only the first 7 minutes. It's not even 10 minutes. I thought it was longer.
Yeah, I know. I thought it was. I thought it was a good half of the movie, and then that's when everyone else comes in.
We'll just jump right in. Well, obviously it was written and directed by Sam Raimi once again. It's half comedy, half horror. It's like a dark comedy, and people were pissed off when it first came out because they were expecting the tone of the original, but. You know.
Yeah, there's a lot of, because they were very big into Three Stooges and Laurel Hardy's autobiography. He mentions how a lot of like their early stuff was them just doing skits, doing like funny jabs, and you see that with Bruce's facial expressions. He's clearly bothered himself off a lot of these. But, like,
it's the slapstick humor, especially with Bruce getting slapped about and punched and thrown about. It originally was supposed to have all 5 characters as well, but you know, budget issues and also the rights issues. That's why they couldn't use the footage of the first film as well.
Just to sort of like recap the first 7 minutes, is what Bruce says is, you know, you skip those first 7 minutes of this movie, you get to that part where he gets hit and thrown through the woods.
Yeah, it's a direct continuation. I mean, apart from like the Necronomicon being burnt and you know the body's not being there, but you know you just sort of throw them away, really, don't you? Because in the first one he throws the book into the fire.
Yeah. Like
and this one it's just on the table. Like we said, the opening 7 minutes is like a remake, rehash of the original.
Like the whole first movie.
Yeah, just condensed into 7 minutes, pretty much.
Yeah, and I think that's a minor issue because he doesn't have his sister in this one. You lose a lot of like.
Yeah, you lose that family connection and the building of characters.
But I feel like starting off with those two, you very intimate.
We also get an added like little flashback, don't we? Because they play the tape and we see Nobe, Henrietta, Anna, and Ed all go into like the Kandar temples or whatever, don't they? When they find the book, and that's introducing us to the characters because we're going to see pretty much all of them throughout the film.
That's something that I like throughout this film. Like these other 2 characters have been slowly introduced. You know what I mean? Like you see them at the airport, you see them trying to get to the cabin.
True.
Stuff like that.
Quite sad. But yeah, the point where it picks up from the first one and it actually gets dragged by the evil, let's call it that. He wakes up beside the puddle and he's
but let's not
possessed.
forget, like, he was getting hit by trees. They were mostly Sam Raimi.
Yeah, when he's driving.
Every time he probably gets hit really hard, whenever you see him get hit really hard with a tree or something like that, because the sequence of the car that he does, that's probably Sam.
I mentioned the shot as well when he gets to the bridge and it's like, you know, he's there and he like screaming and the bridge is all like contorted or whatever. But what do you call it? It's like a painting in a way, innit? Because it's like 3 different things put together. You know what I mean? That one shot's not, you know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
They used that a lot in the 80s to like. I remember what it's called, but
I can't remember the name either. But it's like a certain technique.
Like they do on like a plate of glass, and then they paint on it.
Yeah.
They might do like 2-3 layers, and then they put that like at an angle far away from the camera so it looks like it's at a different position.
I wish that would come back. I enjoy it, you know, it's not bad.
These old practical techniques just gone because CGI. It's like more convenient, but it's not in the.
They just get lazy with CGI, don't they? It's like, oh, we're just CGI. It's like, no.
Because you lose a lot of art. You lose like a very great art form by doing that. I think you put such pressure on this new art form of CGI that stuff becomes lazy and, you know, mishandled.
The sun's rising in it, and obviously the Deadites can't really roam about at daytime, so he becomes unpossessed again. But he just sleeps it off, doesn't he? Until he wakes back up and the sun's going again. If I
remember correctly, like they all the outside shots are from the original cabin, but everything inside they did on a stage. You know what I mean? Like they rebuilt the whole thing.
You can tell later on when it's Henrietta spinning, you see the roof, and you can tell that's a stage.
And then there's that eyeball where you literally see the wire.
Oh yeah, true. But it's part of its charm, I think.
I do, yeah.
Get the tracking shot, don't we? Of it, just the evil following Ash through the cabin, blasting down the doors and everything. And that's
how is his
like
cabin got doors still? That thing. Boom, boom.
But these days that would be all CG, wouldn't it? But you can tell it's like, you know, they're just bursting through it, and he hides inside the cellar, doesn't he, to escape the evil.
You know what else? It's like that's probably Sam or you know, someone with the camera going in. That's not like
definitely.
Someone
obviously the doors are gimmicks or whatever, but still, you know, it's still practical, isn't it? So we get the characters introduced, don't we? It's Annie and Ed coming off the plane. And they talk about how Ed's not had contact with her parents, Nobi and Henrietta, at the cabin. She's got 4 or 5 pages of Necronomicon, hasn't she?
Yeah.
Ash starts slipping into insanity a little bit, doesn't it? Because the piano starts playing itself.
This is so good, this entire section. It's just like, this is the demons, like, only having one thing to play with.
Yeah.
So not just like, they're slowly tearing them apart. Which I think it's really different from what they did in the first movie, where they just went for individual people dead fast and, those sort of things. Whereas with Ash, it was like, and these are the scenes that I remember being longer in my mind.
Yeah, when I always imagined that, I thought it was
because I think
longer.
these are the most iconic scenes. You know what I mean? You think of these scenes, you think of him going mad, him in the rocking chair. You just think of Bruce Campbell's facial expressions.
Linda comes out the grave though, because he buried her before, and we get a stop motion of her dancing and stuff, which is always good, man. You gotta love stop motion.
Again, I think this must have inspired Tim Burton quite a lot, because that's stop motion. Because like Ada Finn, I guess it's the same company that does a lot of that. I remember watching the special speeches to this movie, like, the actors were all having like their face cast and stuff like that. And you see like Ted Raimi in like the Henrietta suit and all that. You haven't watched special features, you watched that?
Oh yeah, I've watched them, yeah. But then the skeleton hands come out, don't they, and they grab him on the door and just start smacking his head.
And this is where the more comedy elements come into this.
Yeah, especially with the fake skeleton hands, but you're like, yeah, whatever. And then he wakes up screaming, you're like, oh, this is just a dream. And then Linda's head just comes flying into his lap out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And he's still fucking, it was like you said, there's only one of him, so they think, oh, they're not outnumbered, are they, when it was 5 of them? So it's just one person, so they're just fucking with him thinking, oh, this guy's easy, let's just break him, take our time. But they don't realise it's Ash Williams who's,
Yeah.
he's a fighter. He might be a little bit of a dumbass, but he's a fighter as well.
This is where I'm saying, like, you take that first movie where he's not much of a fighter, he's more timid, more back, and then you bring it up to this point, you see like he's gone through that horror of losing his friends, his family, and now he's gone into that fight mode now. He's out of flight, he's into fight, and this is him just pure survival. So this is where there's a proper evolution of his character.
And the head bites his hand, and he starts it starts getting infected. It says work shed, the iconic line. Linda takes control of all. The Deadites let her take control when she's on the rest there, and she in place. And she's like, please Ash, don't do it. He's got the chainsaw, but he ends up doing it, and the blood goes on the light, and you get a sick shot of the whole room being covered in red.
Again, just another iconic scene.
It's one after another, because the next bit's still the mirror scene, isn't it? Which, like you said, what's it called?
In the screen select, it's called the mirror tells no lies. Because he's like saying it's okay, or whatever.
Yeah.
And the mirror sort of goes,
comes out, he's like, you just can't up your girlfriend.
That's not okay. Slap. There's a lot of psychological stuff going on, just like, gruesome. Very Hitchcock in a sense.
We get introduced to the other characters as well, don't we? Because Annie and Ed arrive at the bridge, and obviously, they're not getting across that. We get introduced to Bobby Joe and Jake, who are like hillbillies, sort of. They show him the trail to the cabin, and then from there, Bruce Campbell pretty much just beats himself up beside the kitchen because his hand's infected. He's slapping plates off his head. He does that backflip as well, or whatever, the front flip. Speaking of more iconic, it's on this shirt. Who's laughing now as he stabs his hand on, he gets the chainsaw, and he cuts his own hand off, and he just gets covered in blood. He gets the farewells to arm book, and he puts it on top of the bucket to try and keep it in there, but obviously the hand gets free, and like I said, it gives him the finger. Gets caught by the mouth strap as well, and he starts shooting the walls, and then the walls just spray blood, much blood comes out.
I think they went through. I remember reading or hearing that they went for gallons and gallons of fake blood for this.
Is that why later on they turn it into green, because they probably ran out of red? Because later on, Ed's blood's green. And then speaking of iconic scenes, we get another one because the day starts laughing at him, the lamp comes to life, and then Ash just starts dancing with him and laughing, and everyone just starts coming alive. And then he hears someone at the door and he shoots, doesn't he? And I think he hits Bobby Joe inside the shoulder or whatever, because they've arrived at the cabin.
Yeah.
And then they jump him, don't they? Because Annie thinks that he's killed the parents because she sees the chainsaw full of blood. This guy's got one hand full of blood, so they lock him inside the cellar. They start playing the tape, don't they?
And then it starts.
Nobody reveals I had to bury my wife inside the cellar. And we get Ted Raimi inside the costume coming up, and oh my god, man, it's so grotesque, Henry. I've got the figure over there, man. It's so, oh my god,
it's so good though.
Hanging out and everything, and fucking mutated body.
His movements,
yeah,
it's
even
so
his
animated.
voice as well, come to me, I'll swallow your soul.
Swallow your soul, swallow your soul.
Oh my god, I love Ted Raimi. I'm glad they made him into a character in the TV show as well. Chet. But yeah, Henrietta gets out the cellar, and the eyeball goes into Bobby Joe's mouth.
Can I just speak about that scene, she just woofs out so seamlessly. I don't know if that was one take or they did a few. Because like that square's like a small like section, isn't it? She just jumps out like.
Well, they probably had maybe a little launch pad or maybe or something to do it.
I always assume that maybe like they did it in reverse. Like they dropped.
I think they do a few times because later on when he gets dragged through the stairs, I think that was in reverse as well because it'd be kind of difficult to actually drag someone through the stairs.
They film it with him getting out and then they just play it backwards when they play, which I think is a really cool technique that I think is lost. No one uses it anymore.
But Ed becomes possessed and he starts saying "Dead by Dawn." He's levitating like Cheryl did in the first one, and then he goes over and he bites. Is it Annie's? No, it's Bobby Joe again. I think he bites on it, and then Ash uses the axe, and then we get the green blood like we mentioned before. So Ed's, disposed of.
Dealt with, like we said. There's that scene where she's on the ceiling spinning.
Yeah.
All that, like it's just so.
But then they do the camera like it's like a distortion effect in it, and then they're like, oh, I think something's trying to break through into our world. And it's like a ghost of Nobi in it, and he's like warning him. Bobby Joe runs into the woods, and she starts getting attacked by the trees, and we're like, oh shit, here we go again. What does it do? It drags her into, we don't see, but it cuts away, but it drags her into like a tree trunk, doesn't it, pretty much? So you think she just got like fucking splattered against the tree or something.
Yeah.
And after that, Ash, they're looking over the pages, aren't they? And Ash goes, I felt like someone just walked over my grave. And then she starts talking about the hero from the sky who saved people from Deadites years ago. But yeah, Jake gets angry, throws the pages at the cellar, and he threatens them. He's like, we're gonna go find Bobby Joe. And Ash is like, if she's inside the woods, she's already dead, mate. You're not gonna find her. But he forces him anyway. And then Ash becomes possessed on the outside. And he runs back to the cabin, doesn't she? And she has the Kandarian dagger. And then Jake comes in and she just stabs him.
Actually a dagger this time.
Yeah, you see the size of it now, it's got like a spine shit on it. It's way different. But she stabbed Jake as soon as he comes in, right in the middle of his chest. Henrietta drags Jake into the cellar, doesn't she? And he's dead because all the blood just splurts out. Ash finds Linda's necklace on the floor again, shaped like a skull. But this turns Ash back because he remembers Linda with a necklace. And he's trying to convince Annie, like, I'm all right now, she's still trying to hit him with the axe and shit. And then they realise, we have to go to the cellar and get the pages. So back to the work shed, Ash makes his chainsaw round, or whatever you want to call it, we get the iconic line.
He shot
the sawed-off shotgun, he makes it.
Did he do that with a chainsaw? Did he cut it with the chainsaw?
Yeah, he cut it with a chainsaw, yeah.
That wouldn't work in real life. That's
no,
not
of course
chainsaw blade works.
Yeah, true, but,
No, because the way a chainsaw blade works, it's got, like, hooks. Like, you need, like, a proper, like, bladed saw. As a man who worked the trade,
Dylan, there's no Deadites either, but
Yeah.
But he spins the gun, puts it back, iconic line, groovy as well.
Groovy.
And he goes into the cellar for the pages, and we see Freddy Krueger's glove on the door, which, like class film, Hills of Eyes, Wes Craven.
But like also, this cellar, doesn't it sort of remind you of like the boiler room from like Nightmare on Elm Street sort of thing?
Yeah, in a way, because
the cellar does seem a little bit big, doesn't it? Yeah,
it's like, it's got a few rooms as well.
You know what I mean? Like that's something I picked up. That has to be like another sort of like inspiration from that movie.
I love all these like little hints that they got like Easter eggs, like Freddy's glove. Even in Jason Goes to Hell, the Necronomicon's in that as well. But it's just a shame we never actually. I mean, we got Freddy versus Jason, but apart from that, we never got Ash. We got the comic books and all that.
We're gonna get like they originally were gonna do Pinhead versus them, and I think that was the whole point, is leading to Ash.
He starts fighting Henrietta, and the neck extends, which is a really cool effect as well.
Swallow your soul, swallow your soul,
swallow your soul, swallow your soul, and then he gets her on the floor. He's like, swallow this, and just blows the fucking head off.
Yeah, and cuts her up and all that. It's really cool.
And then the trees start attacking the cabin, don't they?
Because she starts reading incantations.
Yeah, but she doesn't finish it because she gets stabbed by the possessed hand with the Kandarian dagger. I love how the hand makes one last appearance.
Yeah, but like she's reading the text, and then we're seeing the entity like fly through the wood, and then like it bursts through the door, and you got this ugly mum.
Oh yeah, and it turns Ash's hair white. He's like, don't look at it.
I was just about to mention that he turns his hair white. Like that's like an old wives' tale. Like you get scared, your head turns white, something like that. That's like
what was it like? If you looked at it too long, you think it would like age you, like it would just kill you, like
No, I think that was just there. Like that's an old thing. Like
because he says don't look at it, doesn't it? So I thought like it would kill you if you looked at it.
No, but I'm saying, is that face like the entity thing that's chasing you? Is that what that's meant to be?
Yeah.
I don't think it is. I think that's just a sort of Deadite thing because I don't want to know.
It was a big face though, like. If it was a Deadite, what's it possessed? Like, is that its actual form, or is it possessed? Because all we see is the trees, don't we, really?
Because that's what she's saying. Oh, this passage has made them, physical in our world. Is that what the thing is? And I'm like, well, there's always been invisible, but you can sense it and fear it. It is creepy looking.
Not, because I like it better that we don't actually see what.
I was just about to say,
it's much better that way. But it is a
Like,
creepy looking face, though.
I do love like the trees start attacking because like these trees are fucking hating everyone.
Yeah.
These trees are beating them.
The Rick Dumplings and Ash in the car get dragged into the past, and he wakes up with the medieval times or whatever are all surrounding him. They're about to kill him, and the Deadites fly in.
Yeah, he's a
and
Deadite. Kill him.
Ash raises up with a broomstick, blows it out, and he's like, "Hail the king hail the hero from the sky! Oh, hail!" And he's like, "No!"
No.
So, what rating are you gonna give Evil Dead 2?
Gotta be 10 out of 10, hasn't it?
Yep, I agree. 10 out of 10. Perfect sequel. Like I was saying before, some people are like, oh, the originals are always the best. This is perfect example of the original. And that's not a knock on the original. I love the original as well, but this just tops it in every single way, man.
Yeah, and especially when it's the same director. It's always hard to find, when it comes to sequels. There's like very few that comes to mind. Sam Raimi's done it twice. He did it with Spider-Man 2. People prefer Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. No, I agree. Spider-Man 2 is the best. Yeah, definitely.
James Cameron's done it with Terminator 2. Sam Raimi is one of the only people to do 2 sequels that are loved more than the first one. Like, I can't think of any others.
True. But even if it's not the same director, I still think sequels can be better than the original sometimes.
Yeah. But like I'm saying, like, I think it's harder for the director of the first one because he's got to top what he's done. Whereas a new guy has to top what someone else has done, so he's coming in with new ideas, new thoughts.
Perfect example of an amazing sequel, no doubt. Next week we're going to be talking about and reviewing Army of Darkness, which, it's more comedy, but it's still an amazing film, no doubt. Make sure you like and subscribe if you're new. Check out Dylan's social links down below. Next week, like we said, Army of Darkness. Until then, peace out in a bit.